To kick us off tonight, I've asked Jennifer Dill to join me here. I know I saw her. Jen, if you could come up and join me. We're going to share with you some information about some work that's been going on with our ORP and CRP committees. Jen is my counterpart with the Alliance Committee, the CRP committee, and we've worked together, and a lot of you have helped us with this on a group that we'll talk about, but also even by making your voice heard and giving some feedback. Some of you may remember some surveys that came out last winter. It's been a little over a year ago that we got together and did some work based on the fact we were all drowning. We knew that we were sinking. We were individually sinking. We didn't talk about it because we thought, geez, am I the only one struggling with this? And lo and behold, as we began to talk, we realized everybody was really struggling with staffing changes, workload issues, things that maybe had been problems all along, but really were bubbling up during COVID. And so by hanging out and talking in a hallway mode, we put a group together, and I'll tell you about that in just a second. About the same time, SWOG also surveyed our head CRA distribution list. And I just want to point that out because I don't know that we've ever shared this officially here. But this is your input, and it's very small, but it will be in the slides. It was published as an abstract and a poster at ASCO last year. This is the feedback that you gave. Over 80% of sites experienced significant staffing turnovers and attrition changes. So if you have a chance, take a look at that poster. At the same time we were working on that, there's a group of people that rolled up their sleeves and said, how can we help? And these are some of those folks. And many of them you'll see in this room tonight. Some of them may be colleagues and friends that you've met over the years in other groups. I see Amanda here. Others, anybody else on ROI, can you raise your hand? Maggie's here. Liz is here. Others are here. Oh, Jim. Oh. So anyway, lots of hands at the wheel on this one. We just wanted to see what's the truth of it all. So we got people together and created a survey to find out what were sites' most pressing issues in the following categories: regulatory, administration, clinical coordination, data coordination, study activation, and remote audits. The survey went out to the Alliance and the Energy membership distribution list, and then it was also posted on CTSU. And I know a number of you at the site level responded to this. This may be one of the most important things that we have done in this decade, honestly and truly, and you'll see why as we go through this, and Jen shares with you some of what's happened recently. So literally, there was a call to action with people saying, we're drowning, what can we do? First, we were just drowning and panicking. Then we were freaking out, and then we were feeling terrible and miserable and really kind of overwhelmed. But I think the secret was realizing that lots of us were experiencing challenges. We got together and started working, and this is what happened. The survey was developed first quarter 2022, and then it went out in quarter 2. So that wasn't that long ago, less than a year ago. We got 566 responses and over 800 free text comments. And some very clear themes jumped out in the middle of all that data. They were that the lack of clarity in protocols and data submission instructions were really challenging. Inefficiencies in trial activation and duplicative work were really hard. The volume of complexity and required data, high staff turnover and subsequent onboarding of new staff, and inefficiencies from inaccurate reports like our DQP and open funding reports were really creating enormous burden on site staff. And it was really difficult to find our way through it all. So our working group came up with some goals. At first, we wanted to solve everything. We knew we had lots of things to work on, but where did we begin? So we narrowed it down to a couple of key things, but we wanted to really start by looking at things that were doable, things that were feasible. How could we improve efficiencies? Because if we were better, everybody would be better. And we wanted to look beyond our individual sites, look collectively at sites in general, but also the research enterprise. How can we help everybody get better? We wanted to identify ways to work together across the NCTN and NCORE enterprise. It wasn't just one aspect of us that was in trouble. We were all struggling. And then we wanted to decrease site research staff turnover through improved job satisfaction and improved clinical trial accessibility for rural and underserved populations. So these are the 10 opportunities. And Jen, I'm going to turn this over to you.
Thank you, Connie. It's just a pleasure to be here, so thank you. As Connie mentioned, we kind of highlighted our top 10 requests and presented these to the NCTN. I'll give you that timeline in a minute here, but The top 10 challenges or opportunities we found were improving the clarity of protocols and case report forms, reducing data collection, and really just being more intentional about what data is being collected, clearly label FDA registration trials, streamline regulatory and rostering processes, increasing audit consistency between the research bases, developing a master DTL, improving CTSU report accuracy, improving clinical trial accessibility for underserved populations, to provide a protocol-specific EMR treatment plan, and to centralize CRP training. So obviously, these are a lot of really big goals. And so, we're kind of shooting for the stars here. And so what happened is, we, as Connie said, we gave a call to action. The survey went out, and last fall, the NCTN leadership invited us to present our data to the NCTN leadership, which is the group chairs and a lot of the staff from the groups, along with the NCI. And this is the list that we had given them. And it has been really encouraging. That spurred on presenting more of this data to CTAC, to different groups and leadership. And we've really found some great collaboration from the groups and CTSU and the NCI with many of these projects. So the timing, you're gonna go. No, you go.
Well, we just keep marveling at the speed at which this is moving. It's kind of like an unexpected surprise. We're not used to this. People really want to know what you think, what we think, what we hope will make life better. And so I think we should just probably make posters and buttons and plaques on the wall, because things have moved so quickly, like nothing we've ever seen in our historical evolution as CRAs and nurses and ORPs and CRPs. But a lot of people are really interested in this, and I think it's all timing. If we had done the same survey 2 or 3 years ago, we might not have had the same response. 2 or 3 years from now, everybody's going to be tired of hearing about all the drama and the challenges and think we're through the other side because the pandemic's over. So, whatever. But really, I think we just found the sweet spot, and your opinion really mattered. Your voices have really been heard. And so as Jen's going to share, some really powerful things have been happening. We haven't even had to go out and look for them. We had this list of people to start calling and places to begin sharing, and thought we'd have to struggle to get the word out. And we've barely been able to keep up with the phone calls and invitations. So all I can say is sometimes the stars, moon, and sun and planets align, and you just get lucky. And that's kind of what happened for all of us, I think. So keep going, Jen.
All right. So I'm going to back up and just give a little more full picture of the timeline here. In September, or in the summer 2022 is when we first started giving this information to the groups. They passed it along to NCTN leadership and NCORE leadership. And that's where it really kept moving from there. A couple of things I'm going to highlight, but one, this last item on the timeline is that one of our requests was that protocol specific EMR treatment plans would be required for protocols, and that was implemented by the NCI as of March of this year. Those are now going to be required. So the groups, it's only for new studies. The groups are starting to roll those out. So you'll see those on CTSU for the new protocols. CTAC also submitted and got approval for a recommendation for streamlining data collection. This is for phase 2 and 3 IND exempt studies, so not for all studies, but I have a link here to that document. It's about 9 pages long with the recommendations to really be intentional about what data is being collected. So as Connie mentioned, this has moved faster than we ever could have hoped or dreamt. And this is the status of those 10 recommendations that were just, presented in September of last year. Many of them are moving forward. And so I think moving forward, how do we work together in a way to get, at the sites, you guys are the experts of implementing these protocols. How do we get that information to the other entities involved? How do we work together? and get information, information and feedback from each other so that we create protocols and systems that are more feasible for site operations. And